Who is Muhammad? To over 1 billion Muslims, he is the last prophet of God, the final messenger in a long line of figures like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. To historians, he is a revolutionary, a statesman, a lawgiver. But to many in the West, his story is unfamiliar, his image clouded by misunderstanding. This is not a sermon. This is a story of a man born in the deserts of Arabia, who transformed the world forever. This is the story of Muhammad. Muhammad ibn Abdullah was born around the year 570 CE, in the city of Mecca, in what is now modern-day Saudi Arabia. His father died before he was born. His mother died when he was just 6 years old. Orphaned, he was taken in by his grandfather and then by his uncle, Abu Talib. He belonged to the Quraysh, a respected tribe that held control over Mecca and its central institution, the Kaaba, a sanctuary that attracted pilgrims from all over the Arabian Peninsula. But Mecca was not just a religious hub. It was a center of trade and tribal politics, a place of competing interests, of the powerful and the poor. As a boy, Muhammad lived a simple life, herding sheep in the desert. He had no formal education. He could neither read nor write. But he listened. He observed. People called him Al-Amin, the trustworthy. He was known for his honesty, humility, and deep thoughtfulness. At the age of 25, he married Khadija, a successful businesswoman 15 years his senior. She had seen something in the quiet, reflective young man and he in her. Their marriage was built on mutual respect and it lasted for 25 years. By his late 30s, Muhammad had grown increasingly disturbed by the corruption and inequality in Meccan society. The rich grew richer while the poor were neglected. He withdrew often to a cave on Mount Hira, just outside the city, to pray, meditate, and reflect. One night, everything changed. In the year 610, as he sat alone in the cave, the silence was broken by a presence, the angel Gabriel. "Read," the angel said. "I cannot read," Muhammad replied. The command came again, "Read in the name of your Lord who created." These were the first words of the Qur'an, the holy book of Islam. Terrified, confused, and overwhelmed, Muhammad rushed home to Khadija. She comforted him, believed him, and became the first person to accept his message. Thus began his mission, to call people back to the worship of one God, to abandon idols and to live with justice, compassion, and humility. But Mecca wasn't ready to hear it. The Quraysh elite saw Muhammad's message as a threat, not just to their religious traditions, but to their social order and their economic interests. Muhammad preached that the rich should care for the poor, that slaves should be treated as equals, that women had rights, that there was no God but God and no justification for arrogance or oppression. For this, he and his followers were mocked, insulted, and attacked. They were boycotted, starved, and exiled to the outskirts of the city. Some were tortured. Others were killed. But Muhammad remained patient, steadfast, resilient. Over the next 13 years, he never stopped preaching. He never gave up on his mission, even when it meant losing friends, family, and followers. Even when he buried Khadija, the love of his life, and Abu Talib, his protector. In 622 CE, faced with increasing danger, Muhammad and his followers made a daring decision: they would leave Mecca. They migrated north to a city called Yathrib, later renamed Medina, the city of the Prophet. This migration, known as the Hijra, marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. It was not just a change of location, it was the beginning of a new era. In Medina, Muhammad was welcomed not just as a spiritual leader, but as a statesman, a mediator, and a guide. He helped settle disputes between tribes. He drafted a constitution that guaranteed religious freedom for Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. He established a society based on principles of justice, cooperation, and mutual respect. But the threat from Mecca did not end. Over the next several years, the Muslims of Medina would be drawn into battle, first in self-defense, then to protect their right to exist. Muhammad never relished war, but he was a strategic leader, calm in the face of danger, merciful in victory. He led his followers in key battles, Badr, Uhud, and the Trench. Sometimes they won. Sometimes they suffered. But through it all, Muhammad remained focused not on conquest, but on survival, unity, and moral clarity. He forbade the killing of civilians. He honored prisoners of war. He made treaties, including the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which showed his willingness to choose peace when others sought war. And in 630, after 2 decades of struggle, Muhammad returned to Mecca not as a conqueror but as a reconciler. He entered the city peacefully. He forgave his enemies. He cleansed the Kaaba of its idols and rededicated it to the worship of one God. In the years that followed, tribes across Arabia embraced Islam, not by force but by choice. Muhammad gave his final sermon in 632. Standing before tens of thousands, he reminded his followers, all mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have superiority over a white except by piety and good action. He spoke of justice, equality, compassion. Then, shortly after returning to Medina, he fell ill. On June 8, 632 CE, Muhammad died in the arms of his wife Aisha. He was 63 years old. He left behind no riches, no throne, no dynasty, only a message and a legacy that would shape the world. So who was Muhammad? He was a man who cried when he saw people suffer, a man who played with children in the streets, a man who mended his own clothes and swept his own floor, a man who forgave his enemies, who fed the hungry, who treated women with respect, who wept when his son died. He was a prophet, yes, but also a husband, a father, a friend. He lived humbly. He led with integrity. He died with dignity. Whether one believes he was divinely inspired or not, there is no denying the impact of his life. He united a fractured people. He inspired civilizations. He laid the foundation for one of the world's major religions. And over 1,400 years later, his name is still spoken in every corner of the earth. In a world often divided by misunderstanding, the story of Muhammad is not just history. It is a reminder that even in the harshest deserts, a voice of compassion can rise. That one person, guided by conscience, can spark a transformation that echoes for centuries. And that behind every prophet, there is a human story. Thank you for watching. If you found this video valuable, consider sharing it not to convert, but to connect. Because understanding each other is where true peace begins.